winners. Let the pros show you how to make money. General Manager Al DeMarco, a regular contributor on Fox Sports, MSNBC, and Comcast Sports TV, brings over 25 years of handicapping experience to the table. CEO Steve Budin, the author of Bets, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, is the man responsible for creating the online betting industry. Together, they lead PickNation.com, your number one source for winners.
Week 3 of the NFL season is upon us. So far this season, the favorites, 2 games under 500. Home teams, absolutely dead even against the odds makers. And guys, that is not good news, because generally you out there, you are betting the favorites. You are laying the chalk with those home teams. And when these things happen, only 2 things are really going on here in Vegas, and they're both bad. The sports books are making money, and generally the gambling public, you're losing your shirts. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here along with Steve Budin. And once again, you have joined us for the Pick Nation Report. This is the only pro football pregame show that breaks down your games from a point spread perspective. Every single Sunday, we're joining you here. I'm General Manager at PickNation.com. I've been a professional sports handicapper for over 25 years. Won 8 of the last 9 football seasons, already hitting 10 out of 15 so far this year. Steve Budin, the CEO, a little different story. Steve comes from a bookmaking family. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Your dad was one of the most well-known bookmakers in the country. And Steve, back in the, what was it, late 80s?
Early 90s.
Early 90s, really gave birth to what we now know as the offshore sports book betting industry.
I never did lose my weight after pregnancy. That's the funniest thing. But, you know, the truth is that, Al, you use your opinion that you have over the years being a journalist, talking to players, talking to coaches. Me, you know, I utilize my sources. I utilize my crews, my syndicates, the sources of information that I have, and that right now we're 7-1 so far this football season, and we're doing real good.
That's exactly it. You know, a lot of guys in this business, handicappers, rely a lot on computer analysis and ATS trends, and I'll talk about them, and I'll give you a lot of them today. But really, Steve, it comes down to what you said. You know, for 8 years, I was a reporter covering teams, players on the field, in the locker rooms. To me, it's all about personnel matchups. You're looking for the mismatches so you can take advantage, and that's something that I think the odds makers often don't consider enough, because they're so infatuated with how are we going to play the game on the public? Where are we going to set that number to get the equal betting action to suck somebody in for that potential trap play? And I'll tell you, I think there's a lot of potential trap plays this week on the board.
Yeah, and don't you feel like after the 20 years you've been doing this that you develop somewhat of a gut where you can look at a line, look at a game, and something turns inside of you, and then you'll go find why that's the right team, but you know it right away when you see it. It almost jumps off the paper at you.
And the opposite is true. Sometimes you see a line and you go, this is a game I got to stay away from. This is something, could be a trap. You just get that. It's like a sixth sense, and you know, stay away. It's just like, listen, when I handicap a card, guys, I'll be honest with you, I go down a card and I immediately, because I follow these teams every single day, it's not like I have to restudy them every week. I immediately cross off who I like, who I don't like, then I put down potential teaser possibilities. That's it. You know, this is not rocket science sometimes. I mean, if you're into this, doing this 365 days a year, this is not something where you agonize for days and weeks on end. You find the game, you go with it. I think your first inclination is also your best one as well.
And I can tell you as a bookmaker, you know, developing a discipline is very important. Being able to look at a card and only extract that one play that you feel has the best chance, and not just giving the bookies exactly what they want, a lot of volume, letting that vig work in their favor, you have a much better chance of winning. And we preach that at the site.
I mean, you know better than anyone as a former bookmaker. I mean, guys come in, suckers. More games you play, the more the odds are mathematically stacked against you to turn a profit. But there are some things you can do to manipulate the line to turn a game to our favor. And we're going to talk about that in a second. I do want to tell you guys, coming up in this first half hour of the show, we're going to be joined from Atlanta by handicapper Trace Adams, who will have 3 free picks for you. We, of course, are going to run down every single game on the board. And a little later, we're going to be talking about draft fantasy football with DraftStreet.com. We're going to have their GM on, how you can win $300 of my money playing this week in DraftStreet.com. But Steve, you know, I am a firm believer in 25 years of doing this that there are certain numbers, when the line crosses them, it behooves you to buy insurance, to buy the half point either up or down, depending on whether you're on the favorite or underdog. To me, those lines are 3, 4, 7, sometimes 10. Guys say, well, what are you doing on 4? Well, I'm sorry, guys. Ever since they returned and gave you the chance to go for the 2-point conversion, 4, I think, is a more common number than 3.
7. Not than 3, then 7.
Yeah, well,
3 is the most common number because of overtime. But 4 is right after 3, which most people think 7 is the next. 6 is also a number that you may want to consider.
6 is nice, yeah. I never do 6, and I got to be honest with you, I do more 4s than I ever do on 3s.
Right.
But that was not the case last week, and I want to talk about 2 games that personally affected both of us. My best bet last week in the NFL, I had 2 plays last Sunday. Easy winner on the Steelers, but my best bet, the Cowboys. You know what happened. The Cowboys were a 3-point favorite, so my way of thinking, listen, you're laying $1.10 on a dollar. You lay $1.30 because you're buying off 3. You get that insurance. What happens? Cowboys go into overtime. Instead of punching the ball in from the 2, they go for the sure, easy thing, win by 3 with the field goal. But I had 2.5. All my customers had 2.5. I won. Now your crew,
Buffalo Bills,
out of Baltimore, the number
right.
1, right, had Buffalo, and that was a crazy game. First half, you looked like you were out of it, down 21-3. But that line, you suggested to your customers to go ahead and buy the half-point down. And
whether it was at 4 or at 3.5.
And a lot of guys got the game at 3.5 early in the day.
Correct. And even though I won that game because I bet it late, got to 3.5, down to 3, and pushed it, didn't win it, felt like a win because we had no right whatsoever to be in that game. A lot of my customers lost that game because they had been betting it all week long when it was at 4. So on my site, it was my first loss, even though in my pocket, it was actually a push.
But again, it just shows you the benefit sometimes of going ahead and buying that half point up or down when the line crosses certain numbers. And we'll talk about that further as we go on. But let's turn to our first game, one of the worst games on the board as far as I'm concerned. Cincinnati, a 2.5-point chalk at home against San Francisco. I don't know why the Bengals didn't give Cedric Benson more carries last week, 16 carries, 59 yards last week at Denver. I mean, this is a team that couldn't stop the Raiders' ground game at all. And consequently, Broncos win that game 24-22.
Yep.
Cowboys beating the 49ers, devastating loss for them. Harbaugh could have started off 2-0. I don't see how they rebound here, and I'm still not sold on Alex Smith.
Right. Well, 49ers didn't fare so well against the Cowboys. Tony Romo, heroic finish. He did get served a side order of crack ribs to go. I don't think the 49ers are going to have the same problem with Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals, so I'm going to actually go against you. I'm going to go with the 49ers plus the 2.5 points.
Well, to support your side, not that I necessarily care about the game. Frankly, put a gun to my head, I wouldn't bet the game still. But I will say that, the Bengals have, last 26 times they've been favored, they've only covered 6 times, 2-12 in their last 14 laying points. I do think the Bengals, though, will be able to run. This is a game, though, as I said, I want to touch. Good game coming up. We'll talk about after the break. New England Buffalo right here on the Pick Nation Report. We'll be back in just a moment. Want to save over $600 today? Want to get the plays of all 10 PickNation.com handicappers today for free? I'm talking over $600 of football action free today, no strings attached. Hi everyone, Al DeMarco here, General Manager of the world's largest online sports gambling community, PickNation.com. Right now, you can get the plays of all 10 handicappers at PickNation.com for free simply by using our one-day free all-access pass. And free really means free. Just go to PickNation.com, click on the free one-day all-access pass, and you'll get all the plays of all 10 handicappers for free today. That's over $600 of action on the house. Why am I doing it? Because I'm that confident that I built a staff of the nation's premier handicappers, guys that can make you money this season. What better way to prove it than by giving you all their action today for free, no strings attached. What are you waiting for? Check out the free one-day all-access pass right now over on PickNation.com.